Well, good evening, laddies, lasses and lasses, and welcome to the click. You smell absolutely astounding today. And don't let anyone else lie to you and tell you otherwise.
Oh my god, Click, you still haven't built me a swimming pool?
Oh my god, Gaycation Emotional Support Team, and you have to stop being so entitled today.
I'm not being entitled. It's the least I can expect for being so ridiculously cute.
It sort of loses the, like, when you see me in frame making the voice. Anyway, I'm not a very good ventriloquist, whatever it's called. So anyway, today we're going to do something absolutely dandy-finalicious. There is lots of Karens in the world. There is lots of main characters. There's lots of all of these kind of very intriguing individuals out there. And they all seem to converge on a subreddit called r/EntitledPeople. So I figured that today we would dig into the beautiful, juicy center of the Venn diagram, which is the most chewy and stinky. Enjoy. r/EntitledPeople. Entitled client learns that professionals can, in fact, walk away. I work as an engineer. I do some consulting on the side, but typically only for people I know and as a favor. A good friend of mine asked to help his in-laws who were doing some fairly massive renovations and additions. I agreed solely because he asked me to. This is not something I have any interest in or need doing except as a favor. It's an old house and has a can of worms written all over it with some of the changes they wanted to do.
Oh, it's the kind of beautiful changes where it's like, can we extend this wall inside the house? And it's like load-bearing and stuff, and it's like, you get to figure that out. That's fun.
Now, he warned me that mother-in-law can be unpleasant. But that was an understatement. She seemed to think that because I was being paid, I charged probably 1/10 of what business would.
Oh, he's being charged like a friend price, and that means he has to put up with her like borderline abuse. Oh, that's fun.
That she could snap her fingers at me like a servant.
How dare you take a lunch break? We are paying you to own you.
She's a bit, old-fashioned that way. I had a few unpleasant emails with her, but it was tolerable. She was rude when I was pointing out issues with her plans, but nothing too extreme. That changed when I started trying to find a time for me to stop by and inspect a few areas of the house to verify some information. I offered times to stop by the weekend, and that didn't work for her. Tried evening times, still a no. Nope, she wanted me to stop by during my office work hours because that was best for her. I mean, doesn't she realize that she's like paying the friend price, so to say? She's paying the favor fee, meaning that he doesn't actually give up any other jobs for this. This is like his evening weekend stuff to help the parents of a friend.
Doesn't she realize this? That this is basically a favor? Oh, nah, man.
When I told her no, this gets done on the weekends or in the evening, she went from rude to incredibly hostile, telling me that she is paying me, lol, and that I work with her availability, not the other way around. CC'd my friend on the chain, told them I was out and have fun working with whoever they get. Friend apologized. I said, no worries, not my problem anymore. She emailed back quite stunned that I was walking away, telling me that this is not how business is conducted. I didn't bother responding. About 3 weeks later, I get an email from the husband now asking me if I would reconsider, and he promises that his wife won't speak to me or be involved in any way. You know it's bad when the husband has to step in because he realizes contractors don't want to work with them because of his wife. I'm always so surprised when I hear stories like this, how marriages like this even last. It is amazing. I hear from my friend that while the quotes came back much higher, which was tolerable for them, but it was how long the wait was. They just bought this house and wanted to move in ASAP, but it's an incredibly busy time of the year for the industry. Turns out when companies you reach out to are drowning in work and you have a potentially convoluted and messy project, they aren't chomping at the bit to get your business. Now they're going to lose the trades they lined up because design would be a month or two out. I passed on the request as I struggled to believe she would be kept in check and had no desire to bail her out. My friend didn't care, said it was nice watching her attitude give her consequences that actually affect her. Honestly, the friend is low-key based though for that. He's not insisting that he goes back to like his mother-in-law that he knows is really toxic. He's like, oh yeah, no, that's the consequences of her action. Thank you for trying. Oh, that's beautiful. This is some gorgeous karma. This is honestly one of the best things about running your own business, for example. When I used to work as a consultant, I didn't get to pick my clients, and sometimes you get stuck with some really weird ones. Sometimes they were super pleasant, sometimes they were really odd, or sometimes you would have some oddball that was like from an external management project or something that had no idea what you were doing, but were just there to be messy and stomp around and try to look big and important, but they were like massive little poo-poos. But now when I work as a YouTuber, one of the main privileges is being able to fire clients I don't like. You work with a sponsor that turns out to be really whack, or someone is making weird demands, you just don't work with them. Or you just say, no thank you, I don't have a boss to answer to, so bye-bye. My ex is so entitled she thinks I should be paying bills for her and the guy she cheated with. Oh my god, she basically wants him to roleplay the cuck chair in a hotel room. Oh dear god, man.
Honey, I know I cheated on you and stuff, but can you like still pay my bills? And pay my new boyfriend's bills as well? You can take the cuck chair when we're traveling.
Found out my girlfriend of 11 years was cheating on me with an unemployed dude, of all people. I am not rich, but I provided her a good lifestyle. Paid most of her bills, provided a nice place, nails and hair done regularly, dates every weekend, couple of vacations a year. She got used to that lifestyle, but wanted to keep living it despite cheating with a broke dude. She didn't admit to the cheating, I caught on to it. Once it was clear I was done with her, the entitlement really started to show. She said because I had family in the area and she didn't, I should move out, but continue paying the bills to give her and the new guy a chance to get on their feet. Okay, I would imagine this is the kind of conversation you bring up maybe before you cheat. I can totally see having this sort of conversation if you break up amicably and you both have sitting down and be like, okay, one of us has a tougher finding housing than the other, maybe you pick like who can stay in the apartment when or whatever. I can see that being an adult discussion. But maybe not after cheating. And he's bankrolling everything. Bruh. She also insisted on keeping my dogs. Told me I could only see my own dogs if I asked the new guy. What does he have to do with your dogs? He's just some random dude she hooked up with, no? What the hell? But since they didn't have any money, I needed to continue paying for food and vet bills. Instead, I kicked her out and kept my dogs. Pretty valid, yeah. At that point, she was angry and still felt entitled to my income. Okay, wait a second, so she went and cheated with like a broke dude, still wanted all the benefits from being together with this OG guy, but wanted to keep everything from his life, like his apartment, his dogs, just replace the man, but somehow keep, like, the income and the puppies. That's the most outrageous part. What the hell with the puppies? And he's supposed to ask permission from the new boy? Has he even met the puppies? After I kicked her out of my place, she claimed she was forced to quit her job because I forced her to relocate. And then she tried to sue me for lost wages, which didn't work out in her favor. You would think she would stop at this point, but she didn't. She contacted my work and threatened to sue them, stating, "Your employee's action cost me everything," and tried to insist they settle outside of court with her for $100,000. She did not make that much money. Instead, my work filed harassment charges against her. I'm also kind of baffled that this person who's claiming to be so down on their luck is insisting on spending their days, time, and money on, like, lawyers and sending bogus charges to people instead of, I don't know, trying to get back on your feet with your new boyfriend. That just seems like a waste of time and money, especially if you're struggling. You would think she would stop at that point, but she didn't. She started messaging every family member of mine that she could find, and told them I cost her everything out of spite just because she moved on with someone else. Moved on with someone else. That's a metaphor for I cheated but still wanted to keep all your stuff. And the least they could do is send her money to help her get a new place and pay rent. When that didn't work, she went online and begged for people to send money to her Cash App to help with a place to live, and claimed it was a domestic violence situation. Oh, so is she gonna get sued for slander as well? I mean, she already has the workplace filing charges against her for harassment. Is she also gonna get sued for slander now because she's trying to beg money from strangers online by slandering the ex? And also slandering with pretty serious charges that could lead to, like, real-life consequences. This really is a piece of work, man. I don't understand how she doesn't understand that any financial support I gave her would end if she cheated on me. We weren't married. We don't have kids. I have supported her for years. I owe her nothing. I really don't owe it to her to help her and her new relationship get on their feet and establish themselves, which seems to come as a shock to her. I swear to God, there are so many people out there, all shapes, sizes, and genders, right, that end up in relationships that very obviously aren't ready for any sort of relationships. And that's when you get wild stories like this. She sounds like a spoiled child who was never told no, and now she's going around cheating on her partner, but still expecting them to be there for her as a partner, even though she is, and then she very obviously checked out of the relationship in a very disrespectful manner, mind you. So, that's just absolutely astounding. Lesson of the day: don't get into a relationship unless you want to be in a relationship and the things that come with it, I suppose. Man, what a nutty story. Our neighbors have been having pool parties at our pool while we are not home for years. Wait a second, does this mean the neighbors are like actively sneaking in with guests into your yard? Is that what this means? A few years ago, my husband and I purchased a house with a pool. Now, we are acquainted with most of our neighbors, but definitely not close friends with any of them. They all seem nice, but we just don't have that much in common other than the place we live. Next door to the right is a family of 6. Twin daughters attending the local uni, high school-age son, and a young elementary school-age daughter, maybe 1st or 2nd grade, and the parents. Now, normally we open the pool in early May and leave it open until the end of October. But this year, our weather was off, and we had a very cool and very wet month of May, and then June went straight to 100+ temperatures. I am currently on medication that makes it difficult for me to tolerate being in the sun and heat for an extended time. Plus, we have been helping 2 extended family members who are having health issues. So because of this, we haven't had our pool opened yet this year. Normally, we go to the family lake house for a week during each of the 3 major holidays. But we didn't go for Memorial Day because there was flooding around the lake this year. And because family member was just discharged from the hospital yesterday, and July the 4th being a Thursday this year, we decided to stay home this week and be available to help this family member. Now, several times in June, the little girl next door has seen either my husband or myself outside, and she has asked when we are opening the pool. We first told her maybe later, but the last time, yesterday, she asked and I said, we're probably just not gonna open it this year, and she started crying. That's a little bit of a giveaway that something is going on that isn't really supposed to be going on. Now, we have never had any of the neighbors over to use our pool, so I didn't understand why she was crying over us not opening our pool. I mean, yeah, then it would be a reasonable expectation, right? It's like, oh, the neighborhood girl that plays with our kids or whatever, or, you know, she comes over and asks if she can take a dip in the pool, doesn't get to, like, borrow the pool this year. Oh, that's a bummer. But if they're already not using it at all, that's a very strange reaction, right? Well, I spoke with a neighbor on the left later, and apparently our neighbors on the right have been having a small family party at our pool every 4th of July when we are gone. This has been going on for years. Their tradition for 4th of July is literally breaking into your yard, sneakily using your pool, and then clean everything up and sneak away. That's literally their family tradition. Breaking into their neighbors. Oh my god, man. They have always cleaned up really well afterwards. And because we have scheduled pool maintenance and weekly yard services, occasionally things are moved around in our yard, and we never thought much about it. The neighbor on the left thought we had given the other neighbors permission to use our pool. We did give them permission to retrieve any balls or toys that ended up in our yard, but never permission to use our pool, especially when we are not at home. Oh my god, Timmy kicked the ball into the neighbor's pool. Better swim around for the whole day and look for it. I mean, you gave us permission to do this, did you not? We have a special latch on the gate, and my husband did show the neighbor how to open the gate to retrieve his kids' toys. So now my husband, who loves gadgets, is going to have several more cameras installed around the exterior of our house, covering the gate and pool area, and have the gate latch made where we can grant remote access for the pool service and yardmen. Luckily, we have a friend who does cameras and home automation systems. I am annoyed our neighbors have been using our pool without permission, but my husband is happy I'm letting him use more gadgets around the house. Now, do we confront the neighbors and let them know we know they have been using our pool, or just wait and see if they say anything about our new security cameras? That is weirdly entitled to just break into a neighbor's place and use their pool. It's also like hygienic reasons, you know? If I have a pool of my own somewhere, I wouldn't expect random people to go dipping in it and, you know, maybe or maybe not they shower before going to the pool, or, you know, do something else, or like a random kid pees in the pool or whatever, you know? You don't want that. You know, if you go to a public pool, you expect it to be public, but you don't want to deal with the sanitation stuff in your own pool, you know, with strangers. break into your backyard. This is really odd, even if they do, like, clean up after themselves, so to say. Oh my. Not to mention just like the invasion of privacy. Update! Our neighbors have been having pool parties at our pool while we are not home for years. This is the beautiful part about finding stories like this a while after they have been posted. It's just like finding a really good series on Netflix, and you can watch the entire season at once without waiting for new episodes. Okay, so first off, there are a few clarifications about like technicalities with the door and stuff. Anyway, the update. Thursday, July 4th, morning. I was loading a few things in my vehicle to take my cousin, who just got out of the hospital. Neighbor/husband, who has been gone a lot for work recently, saw me and came over and asked if I was getting a late start going to the lake. Hint, hint, wink, wink, you know? I let him know that we were staying home because we are helping my cousin, who just got out of the hospital. He asked if we were going to be home all weekend. I said, yes, one or both of us will be around all weekend. He quickly wished me a happy 4th and went home. Little bit sussy, isn't it? Is he also gonna cry? But are you not opening the pool this year? Oh my god! You know, when it didn't work with the little girl? Maybe he should try it. I went back in to grab my purse and tell my husband about the conversation with the neighbor before I left. When I got home, our friend, Mike, was there. Mike does security cameras and home automation systems, gadgets, and my husband loves gadgets. Mike and my husband have a plan for multiple cameras and several gadgets, some of which involve us getting ahead and having the pool opened. I agreed to all but one of the new cameras and almost all the gadgets. I think husband put some in the plan knowing he would have to give up a few of them. Oh yeah, you see, that's how you do it. You give a higher bid because you know the other person is gonna give a lower bid. So he said like, I want 25 cameras, and the wife is like, isn't that excessive? Only 23, and it's like, oh yeah, that's fine, I only wanted 20. Mike also suggested talking to our homeowner's insurance agent because we might be able to get some discounts with the security upgrades. So now, on Friday the 5th, Tom, our insurance guy, comes over and Mike is back and has a drone to help him find the best camera positions. Really, I think he just wanted to show off his gadgets. So husband, Mike, and Tom are outside, and all around the house and occasionally inside. They're just three bros playing with toys, cameras, and drones. This is amazing. This is how you deal with noisy neighbors. Just an excuse to play with fun shit. I look outside ever so often, and at different times, other neighbors have come outside and down to our end of the street. So neighbors want to know what's going on. So husband tells them we are concerned that someone or several people may have used our pool without our permission while we're not home. Oh my god, is this gonna turn out to be like a neighborhood conspiracy where like every family is using the pool? Maybe it's not that extreme, but we'll see. It turns out that 2 different neighbors have witnessed some friends of the neighbor children come over last year, and they and the neighbor twins have gone into our backyard. Oh my god, so it's not even only the 4th of July, like the kids and stuff casually bring friends home from school and they break into the pool. Man, they have really industrialized this breaking into the neighbor's pool thing. I'm starting to get the feeling that this neighbor uses their pool more than they do themselves. It's kind of wild. One neighbor even asked the girls, and they claim that we let them come over all the time and use our pool. So they're also lying. Oh no, they're not even sneaky about it. So at this point, husband and Tom discuss this. And Tom says we should send a registered letter to the neighbors rescinding our permission from entering our fenced-in backyard. Oh yeah, I mean, I could see that being used as an excuse. Oh no, we're totally just gonna pick up a ball that flew in over the backyard. You know, we're bringing towels and swim gear and stuff, but that's beside the point. So before Mike and Tom left, the neighbors on the right, pool party neighbors, come home, both husband and wife. My husband asked to talk to them, and with Mike and Tom as witnesses, he tells them that for insurance reasons, we are rescinding our permission for them or any member of their family or guests to enter our fenced-in backyard, and we will be sending a registered letter stating this as requested by our insurance. Husband never accused them or their children of using our pool, but said we had reason to believe that in the past our pool had been used without our permission. He did not say that we had reason to believe that their older children might be friends with someone who had been in our pool. Husband also told them that we were changing the gate to have an automated lock and cameras will be installed around the pool area. He also assured them that we will avoid the cameras pointing at their windows or backyard. Husband indicated that we were taking these measures to hopefully lower our homeowners' insurance rates. Husband said that they exchanged a few looks between them, but they said they understood and appreciated the heads up. So hopefully this saga is over, but if there are any other updates, I will try to post them. It sort of is the path of least resistance, because you don't have to deal with the confrontation when they are obviously going to be doubling down and lying, and you don't have to set up cameras and try to make an ordeal like after the fact. It's just letting them know like, hey, if anyone goes into our backyard, it's going to be cameras and stuff, and you know, then they have the information, but you don't have to deal with the confrontation because these people have already shown that they're liars, and it's not really going to be worth the hassle. So honestly, dealt with in a very nice way, and the husband got to have fun with his cameras and drones, so that sounds like an absolute win. My mom thinks a court will give her my house. I bought a small starter home during the housing market crash, completely by myself. I lived there for the better part of a decade before buying a larger home with my now husband. My parents really wanted to live there because it was small and easy to maintain. They have foreclosured in the past, so no way would they be capable of someone giving them a mortgage. Ah, that's why they want the house for free from family. Woo! Also, my dad is retired and my mom doesn't work. They wanted to rent from me for a discounted rent they pay off of the mortgage. Let's say $50K. With an over six-figure inheritance my parents got. A lease was written explaining that it was a prepayment of rent and their rent would be only the taxes and insurance, and they would pay $350 a month. I mean, that's an absolute steal for like a starter home. Damn, that's so cheap. That's a really good family price, honestly. Basically, only going up when taxes or insurance going up. We signed the lease with all the other typical stuff in it and had it notarized, and that's how it's been for a while now. So to be clear, I am not making a dime on this house. I recently told them the rent would go up by $3 fucking dollars because of a slight increase in the insurance. My mother lost her shit. She's already living in a house basically for free. When I say for free, I mean that she only pays for like the insurance and stuff. You know, she pays for the basic maintenance anyone living in the house, including the owners, would pay, right? She's not actually paying rent, you know? And then it increases by $3, right? We're talking literally less than a 1% increase. $350 to $353. That's literally less than a percent of an increase. Lady, have you seen what rents look like nowadays? Be happy and be silent. What the shit? My mother lost her claiming I'm a money-hungry birch. She was going to rip out everything she did, garden and other cosmetic changes, that I owe her, and I didn't evict her because it's her house. Money-hungry birch for $3 a month. Bruh. Ooh, those sweet $36 I'm squeezing out of my poor family every year. Cue evil laughter. That I owe her, and I can't evict her because it's her house. When did it become her house? She's not responsible for the insurance. Lease says otherwise. Insurance hasn't been raised in a decade. Look at frickin' lumber prices. I am trying to make her pay my personal homeowner's insurance. A court will show me that and give her my house. Oh my god. With family like this, who needs enemies? Man, it's kind of like a bit of a refreshing story, isn't it? When like the landlord, I'm saying landlord because it's just a family renting a house to another family for like not really a rent, it's just maintenance cost, right? But then the tenant is the one being absolutely unhinged. Isn't that like a bit of a refreshing story? Everyone can be unhinged all the time. What a wonderful world it could be, but it's not. We have a notarized lease. They are listed as tenants. I am the only one on the deed. My father demanded the bills. 0 balls this man has. Oh, so he's also just standing with your mother despite her being absolutely unhinged. You see what I talked about earlier in the video? Like, how do marriages like this even last until this point? Like, how do you live with someone like the mom in this story? I'm absolutely flabbergasted. My father demanded the bills, 0 balls this man has, to see if I'm ripping them off. P.S. The house is a commutable distance from a frickin' Manhattan, so a studio apartment around here is like $1,500. Wait, so he's actually charging them like a quarter of what a studio apartment would cost. Oh my god, they should just shut up and be so happy. They are so out of touch. They have no idea what rents look like at the moment. Holy shit, man. This is a house with a large yard for their dog. I can easily get $2,000 a month for this house, even before they moved in. I sent them copies of the taxes and insurance showing only their address. Can you imagine, like, letting families stay in a property that you have saved money for and paid for on your own accord, not even charging rent, and then they blow up because there is an insurance increase of $3 a month when you're already charging them like a literal fifth of what you could be charging. It's even less. It's at like $2,000 and he's only charging $350. Oh my god, man. Can you imagine doing that? Like, essentially, this man who is renting this place to his parents is losing like $1,500 a month in potential rent money, right? Or just selling the house and putting it into some nice investment or buying something expensive or a fancy car or whatever, you know? So he is kind of giving this to them for free, you know? And they have this attitude about it? Oh my god, man, come on. And on top of that, they're accusing you of being greedy and basically a thief, and they're gonna steal your house from you and yada yada yada. Man, I would kick these people out on the spot. I don't care if they're family. If they talk to you like this, I wouldn't do them any favors ever again. Jesus Christ. I sent them copies of the taxes and insurance showing only their address. P.S. I'm charging them discounted taxes. You get a discount for paying in full 90 days early. I told them to add and divide by 12 and told my mother to talk to a lawyer so they can slap them straight. I guess my father agreed with me because now she's divorcing my father. So the father is like, hey there honey, maybe you should calm down a bit because we're paying like a seventh of what we would pay otherwise for a rent for a house in this area. This is obviously a very good deal. She's like, I'm divorcing you. Man, I guess my own question was answered by this. How do marriages like this even last? We have our answer. They don't. Update. First, I want to thank everyone. I was mainly just venting because I was very upset after the exchange and have been dealing with some health issues. I kept getting a lot of the same questions. They have lived there for 4 years now. My mom has always been entitled and an alcoholic. Weekends and summers were spent with family. My aunt admitted when I was an adult it was to keep us from being around the alcohol. Okay, so she was always kind of a piece of work who put the kids last. That's very nice. I mainly did this for my father so he can get a chance to retire after having heart surgery when he worked a physically demanding job for 36 years. That's a super nice gesture. Maybe you should just kick the mom out and let the dad stay in the place for the $350 a month. You know, they're getting divorced anyway, so that sounds like the perfect solution, honestly. They asked to rent the house and pay it off as a prepayment of mortgage, so the only big bill monthly was their health insurance. I had a few others interested in renting my house. I did not ask them for this. They did not co-sign on the mortgage or help with the down payment. Their name is not on my house or deed. There have been rent increases in the past due to the taxes and insurance going up, and there was never an issue before. I mean, inflation is a thing, you know, that stuff is gonna happen eventually. My husband's dad unfortunately passed away without getting to enjoy his retirement. A big reason why my husband told my dad he needs to retire and enjoy life a little, and his inheritance helped pay the down payment on our new house. My mom has a history of putting shite on me, and $3 is, I guess, my line in the sand. I started paying $200 a week after I graduated high school until I moved out at 20. I worked about 65 hours a week on top of school to do this, and yes, shockingly, they foreclosed when I moved out. I stupidly put her on my phone plan and basically paid her phone for 2 years until the contract ended, because she only paid me for 3 months out of those 2 years. She promised money for my wedding and never delivered. They didn't pay for college, they stopped paying for clothes school expenses when I was 16 because I had a job. I mean, that seems incredibly excessive unless the family is like struggling really hard. If anything, you would want to like encourage the kid to work more so they can have more freedom with their money and stuff. If the kid decides to take like a summer job and you say, oh good, now we're gonna stop buying you food and clothes. It's like that's not a motivator, because then you're just telling the kid that, oh, if I stop getting summer jobs, then I'm gonna get food and clothes for free again. So I'm basically working for no benefit. Unless the household as a whole is struggling very hard, I think it's much better to teach the kids that, you know, if you work, you will have it better tomorrow. You know, give them some incentive. This is basically just punishing them for getting a job. I know this is all a red flag parade, but I trusted my dad more than her, I guess, and thought I was doing a good thing. I also wanted to keep this house because I love it and want to move back one day. It's just too small for us as a young family. I mean, sounds like an amazing house to move back into like in a few years. You know, if the kids grow up, they move off to college, and then you want a house with lower maintenance, maybe travel more during the year when you're old, then it sounds amazing. I can totally understand wanting to keep a property like that in the family. Or allow my child to live there when they go to college, and want to have fun without parents hanging around or racking up dorm costs. That also sounds amazing. Man, this is just smart planning, man. Also, she threatens divorce all the time. I doubt she will actually go through with it. Tell your dad to go through with it. Tell your dad he can keep the house by himself if he goes through with the divorce. I would just do that. Get this mom out of the picture. She's a nightmare. Jesus Christ. I won a jackpot on a cruise. Now my brother wants me to give him his fair share. Just as the title says, I won a small jackpot on a cruise a week ago. A little over 10K. My brother was with me when I won. After getting the hand pay, I gave him $2,000. Afterwards, he was passive-aggressive for the next day. On the last day, he proceeded to demand his remaining 3K. Because he believes we should have split it evenly because he didn't win. I reminded him it was my money I put into the machine, so why did he expect to get anything at all? I told him he should be grateful for what I gave him, as I didn't have to give him anything at all. He has since been passive-aggressive again now that we've gotten back. I've also heard from mutual friends that he's been calling me greedy and how I am selfish. You shouldn't have given him anything in the first place. And make sure he never gets another dime. We have always given each other some money after one of us wins. He won earlier in the cruise for $1,000 and only gave me $100. What we give is nowhere near half what one of us has won. This money is the largest either one of us has ever won. So he wanted more money than I was going to give him. I learned my lesson. He won't get another dime from me. He gave you 1/10 of his price and you gave him 2/10 of yours. He's got a lot of nerve to demand more. Yeah, bro owes OP another 100 and you're square. That's a fair point. I would just use that argument. What an entitled brother. Money really does bring out the worst in people, doesn't it? Bro got a free 2K. What are you complaining about? Karen.
Do you know who I am?
Me. No, tell us. Karen.
My husband is...
That's your husband. Tell us who you are. This happened on Thursday, but I forgot to post this. So I, 27M, was walking to the metro when I saw a guy getting harassed by this short woman. This is what I can remember them saying, translated from Dutch. Man, you have been following me since we were in the local supermarket. What is wrong with you?
How rude! Do you know who I am?
Me blurting out, why don't you tell us? At that moment, I know I might have messed up. Both now looking at me. Ooh. The woman yelling in an insulted tone.
My husband is, insert name I don't remember, he is a famous accountant at insert company name.
Me having given up on escaping. That's who your husband is. Who are you? Woman.
My husband got a promotion last month because he helped...
That's what your husband has done. Who are you? And what important thing have you done? The man, now grinning. Yeah, tell us, Dutch word for Karen. The woman, now red-faced, was stammering now, unable to come up with something. I then asked, could it be that you have done nothing important? The woman...
Let me think for a second.
Oh my god, she's actually so invested in winning this argument that she's gonna sit there and buffer for like potential past life achievements to one-up random strangers who were just tired of her Karen behavior. Oh my god, people really need hobbies, man. She then started to think and slowly turned pale. I asked the same question again. Who are you and what important thing have you done? Without an answer, the woman left, having a pale face. I then said sorry to the man for not minding my own business, but he said that it was okay and thanked me. I still wonder who she was and what she had done that made her so important. And you know the funny thing is, even if she was someone important or had something important under her belt, she would still have been insufferable, and it speaks more towards her character even if she had done something important that she's so desperate to flaunt it towards people. People who are like truly confident in who they are don't act like this even if they are successful. You know, it's really weird. It's sort of like a self-defeating attitude in that way. The moment they act like this, you know they're nobody worth listening to. He tried to take my airline seat and lost. I was traveling to Las Vegas to meet up with some friends and pre-booked my seat. With this airline, they charge extra for certain seats. I chose a window seat with extra legroom due to my disability, which cost me an additional $45. When boarding, there was a man in my seat with another man in the aisle seat. The middle was open. I checked my seat number and then politely told the man he was in my seat and asked for him to move. I am petite female, and both men were about 6 feet tall and over 200 pounds. When both opened their mouths, it definitely appeared like they both were used to using their size to get their way. The man in the aisle immediately told me that the man at the window didn't have to move, and I could sit in the middle. After all, he said, I shouldn't make a scene about it. Then don't pick the wrong seat, I suppose, if you don't want to make a scene. You're the instigator, Mr. Man. That really pissed me off. I didn't raise my voice and was very polite. I said I wasn't making a scene, but was asking nicely for the seat I paid for. That's when he stood up and attempted to physically intimidate me. But here's the thing. I worked in frontline healthcare. I am used to men attempting to use their size and mouth to intimidate, and this behavior does not work with me. So I decided to take another tactic. I turned my head to the man in my seat and told him that I would make him a deal. He gives me $50 cash and I will give him my seat. I told him I paid an additional $45 for the seat, and with tax it should be around $50. If he gives me the money, the seat would be his. This is when he turned to me in shock and said, You want me to pay $50 for your seat? I answered, haha, so you're admitting you knew this seat wasn't your seat. I'm going to call the airline staff and they can take you to your seat. After all, I booked this seat due to me having a disability, which is true, and you were trying to steal it. Everyone around us turned to look at him, and they did not have kind looks on their faces. He turned 14 shades of red and moved to the middle seat. He pulled his hoodie over his head and sulked the rest of the flight. His friend did the same. The moral of the story is simple. Do not use size and gender to bully others. It may just backfire on you and make your next flight a lot less comfortable. And also, to add to that, an airport is like the dumbest place ever to try to use your voice or size to like be intimidating towards people. It's like one of the places you're gonna be in everyday life that is the most packed with security and strict rules, right? If you take it too far, you're just gonna be tackled and dragged away. You know? It's like, it's one of the dumbest places to try to do this. You know, even if you are a douchebag and wanna do this, it's also really dumb. Plane seat bandit finally happened to me. A lot of people stealing plane seats. I just picture someone going into a plane, like literally stealing a seat. Haha, it's mine now. No, I paid for it. People stealing plane seats and getting told off for it are some of my favorite stories on Reddit. With the increase of plane seat bandits, most likely due to airlines almost making it a requirement to pay for seats if you want to sit next to your plane partner, I have been half expecting to run into one since me and my husband travel a lot for work. Well, it finally happened, and it was fun. Me and my husband always buy plane seats towards the back of the plane. As we stroll down, we see a lady with a young son, maybe 11 or 12, sitting in our seats. They were both deep in their phones when I told her she was in our seats. We had to wake up at 3 in the morning to drive to the airport, and we didn't really sleep, so I was not in the mood for bullshit. She smiles and tells us that they weren't seated together, so the stewardess told her they could sit here. She most definitely did not. I smile back and say we paid for those seats, so we would like to sit there. She keeps smiling her stiff smile and points to other empty seats behind us and asks if we wouldn't mind sitting in one of them since they're already settled and comfortable. Would it even matter? I mean, it would matter once more people board and they realize that those seats behind them are probably taken as well, so they will have to like scooch around or wait until the whole plane is bored and hopefully something is empty. Doesn't sound like their problem. Well, I said, yes, since the plane is still boarding, so these might all be reserved, and it really messes with the system if people sit in random seats. She is starting to lose her smile and says if there aren't seats available after the plane is finished boarding, then they would move then. Oh, so everyone is gonna stand up and block the entire boarding process because they don't want to sit in the seats they booked. Sounds convenient for you. No one else. I am not confrontational, and I am usually a people pleaser, so I am struggling to stand up for myself. But I am so proud for doing it anyway. Meanwhile, my husband is struggling between boarding passengers to get the flight attendant. I sigh, and with a half smile I say, I'm sorry, I just want to sit down and not stand in the hallway blocking people to see if maybe there are empty seats when I already paid for our seats. And besides, I would like the police to be able to identify our bodies by seat number in case the plane crashes and our family wants to bury our remains. The kid's face, which has been glued to his phone this entire time, shoots up in shock, and he looks between me and his mom. It was delicious.
She has a bewildered look on her face. There is silence for 5 seconds before she packs up her stuff and pokes her son to move. I keep smiling sweetly and thank her and plump myself down as my husband returns with a flight attendant. I tell her everything is fine and tell my husband what happened. We laughed and I'm pretty sure the mom heard. Or I hope so. I didn't look back, but I think I'm not mistaken for feeling a laser stare in the back of my head. Luckily, the flight was only 3 hours, so I didn't need to walk past for the loo.
Airplane Karens, aren't they a beautiful breed?
Oh, my rich friends, we can't be friends no more. Rich friends, nevermore.
So tonight, an acquaintance I haven't spoken to in at least 5 years calls me. Marcus, I'll call him. Marcus did make a little chit-chat, then ask what I'm doing for work. I say I am between full-time stuff right now, but looking. They agree that the job market is hard, and how they are divesting themselves of a business they have had for decades as the suckers aren't buying anything anymore. I give a little laugh, because that's a weird way to refer to clients, but maybe Marcus is a little down. Then they mentioned about their house in New England, and their home in the West Coast in a
highly desirable area on the beach,
that they want to split the entire summer between the two locations because it's so hot in the south in the summer. I say something along the lines of, oh, that's a heck of a problem to have, and we laugh again. That's when they drop their entitled request on me. They want someone to care for their extremely obese, nearly bedbound elderly auntie that lives with them. 7 days a week, no days off, for 3 months. The best part, this home is not air-conditioned. They want to offer a fellow human $200 a week since it's a light duty, but they say I would have my own room. I own a house. That's not of interest to me. I explained I was going to have to pass on this amazing offer, and Marcus got really insulted. He whined and said they didn't know anyone as nice as me, and since I was a flight attendant before this, I know their first aid and serving food stuff. Again, I declined and he was confused. I said, would you work for $200 a week? Because I won't. He said he would call in a week to see if I changed my mind. Blocked him as soon as the call ended.
Yes, you're saying no. In my business, that means maybe. I'll call you back tomorrow with this amazing offer again.
This just sounds like an au pair horror story. I'm gonna be honest. And also, if they have such fancy homes and stuff, how come they don't even have air conditioning in the home they're gonna be housing their bedridden aunt in? That sounds bonkers. They're just gonna keep them in like a barn and pay someone $200 a week to look after them. Is that the thing here? Why they like ping pong between fancy homes on like the different coasts and stuff? Jesus Christ, dude. That's one heck of a story. Paints a very, very good picture in your little head, doesn't it? I paid for everything on vacation, and now they're acting like I am the one who ruined it. I covered the Airbnb, gas, groceries, and even 2 dinners out. All because everyone said, we'll pay you back when we get home. Not a single one of them has paid me back. When I brought it up, one friend said, you seemed cool with it at the time. Like I was happy to spend $5,000 while everyone else lived rent-free. Now they're acting weird, saying I'm being dramatic about money. You owe them money that you're not paying. That's not being dramatic, that's you like literally stealing from your friends. But if you can't afford a trip, don't go. And if someone fronts the cost, the bare minimum is paying them back. I feel used. I don't know about the country and stuff you live in, but maybe like some kind of small claims or something like that would be worth it. I mean, $5,000 is quite a lot of money. Or maybe just smear them on social media. That's usually what I always say, like in my business at least. Maybe it's a bit different, but I'm certain you have personal social media where this kind of stuff would slap pretty hard as well. What I would do, for example, say for example a sponsor refused to pay me money. What I would tell them is like, I'm not gonna bother suing you for this. I'm just gonna make a second anti-sponsorship where I tell everyone how much your company sucks for my entire audience to see. You know, that's always been like my go-to in the back of my head with this sort of stuff, you know? You don't always have to go the legal route. Sometimes you can just like take back on like a social level. And that usually is enough to get most people's thumbs out of their buttocks. Entitled Hellspawn wants my coke, and his mother decides that ordering me to hand it over was a great idea. So I just flew back from Dubai, and I had the unfortunate luck of sitting next to an entitled mother and her ruly child.
Maybe it was the mother from the other story with the 11-year-old, right? And now they're like flying back and they get posted on Reddit for a Karen story every single time they're on an airplane. I hope that is the case. That would be so funny. I was cursing myself because I have had terrible experiences with children in my aisles on flights, so I was already not in a great mood. The flight started out pretty smooth, but things quickly took a turn. This kid, who must have been around 5 or 6, was running up and down the aisle, throwing toys and making a mess. The flight attendants were doing their best to manage, but the mother was just sitting there, scrolling through her phone like nothing was happening, or just telling people to ignore him because he's not a kid. About halfway through the flight, I ordered a Coke. As soon as it arrived, the kid zeroed in on it. He started whining and pointing at my drink, making a scene. Before I knew it, the mother was giving me these dirty looks, like I was some kind of demon for not sharing my Coke with her prince. She leaned over, and in a tone that dripped with arrogance said, "He really wants your drink? Just give it to him." I was stunned. I mean, it's free, so just ask the attendant to get one for yourself. I don't know, is that even more outrageous? I think that's even more outrageous when it's like it's literally something free and you can just ask for another one for your kid, but you refuse to and want someone else to do it for you. That almost makes it worse, right? Because the investment to get it for your own kid is so incredibly tiny, but you're still so entitled for other people to give up their own stuff for your son. That kind of makes it worse. When I declined and suggested she ask the flight attendant for another one, she huffed and rolled her eyes, muttering something under her breath. I am a petty guy, so I took my sweet time in having the drink while loudly playing music on my headphones and also slurping a bit like... Oh, that's a good Coke. Oh, yes. Oh my God, I used to love this as a child. Poor children. They can't have Coke. Oh, it's so good. To spite her, I ordered another Coke. But this time her kid tried swiping the drink from the attendant's hand. The attendant scolded the mother in a quiet and stern tone to bring her kid under control, after which the mother huffed and puffed like an out-of-shape marathon runner. Okay, but instead you could just ask the flight attendant, like, "Oh, can you bring a second one for my son? He really would like one, thank you." Why not do that? It's even fewer words than your petty tirades and messing around with the flight attendants, and it would get your kid what they wanted and they would settle down. Why do you choose to do this? Being a butthole is obviously the more difficult thing to be in this situation, and you still insist on being a butthole. Why do people choose to being a butthole even when it's harder for themselves? For the rest of the flight, she kept glaring at me like I had snitched on her to the principal, while her kid continued causing problems. It's amazing how some parents think the world revolves around them and their poorly behaved children. Why have kids when you can't be arsed to parent them properly? Or just get the kid a free drink. It doesn't seem that difficult. Dear God. My coworker's mom called me at work because her sweet boy had to stay late. So this happened last week, but I still think about it sometimes and feel both second-hand rage and pity. A new guy joined my team at the start of last month, who we will call Sam. Sam is a quiet guy, early 30s, polite to a fault, always looking over his shoulder like he's about to get in trouble. At first, I thought he was just shy, but within a week, I figured something was off. He will get these phone calls every 30 minutes, like clockwork. Eventually, I asked him if everything was okay. That's when he admitted it was his mother. She needed to know what he was doing at all times. Like, literally, where are you sitting? What are you eating? Who are you talking to? Type updates. He said he was raised that way and just never broke the habit. That is so sad. Can you imagine how much of an impact this must have had on this poor man's life when he was growing up? Like when you're a teenager and you're trying to figure yourself out, or when you're in your 20s, maybe in college or something, or you're trying to like get to know people for relationship purposes, or just being alone with your friends in peace to do like your things. And every 30 minutes you get like spammed with calls, and I'm assuming there's other stuff hanging over their head as well in case they don't pick up, right? That sounds like a nightmare. What a bummer that I hasn't broken out of this. This sounds exhausting. I could see him shrink into himself every time she called, like the life got sucked out of him in real time. Anyway, it's the month end and we had to stay back late to wrap up some department reporting. Everyone stayed a couple of extra hours. It was quiet, we were all working, and suddenly Sam's phone rings again. He steps outside. 2 minutes later, he comes back inside looking white as a sheet and says, "Hey, Mr. Coco, my mom wants to speak with you." I thought he was joking. He was not. He looked like he was about to cry. I took the call out of sheer disbelief, and no boy, I wish I hadn't. This woman unleashed on me.
How dare you make my son work past office hours? He needs to come home and rest. You don't know what he's been through.
He's been through you. I think everyone knows what he's been through, and it's you!
Don't you know how dangerous the roads are?
I was too stunned to even respond properly. I just said, "Ma'am, I think Sam can explain the situation better," and handed the phone back. And that's when something amazing happened. Sam finally snapped. He didn't yell, but his voice was steady. "I need this job, Mom. You can't keep doing this. I am staying late because that's my responsibility. And everyone is here too. Please just stop." It was quiet for a second, and then he just ended the call. Honestly, I was proud of him. I know how hard it is to stand up to your parents, especially when they try to control you your entire life. We wrapped up an hour later. I offered to take him out for cold drinks just to decompress, and he looked like someone who had finally removed a 20-year-old weight off his chest. But when I dropped him off near his house, he gave me a small awkward smile and just said, "Thanks. Tonight is going to be rough." I haven't heard his mom voice since then, but he still gets those calls. Just less frequently now. I really hope he makes it out okay. Some cages don't even have bars. You just carry them in your head. Edit. Thank you all for the wonderful comments. Just a quick update. It's been baby steps over the past couple of days. He does occasionally shrink still, but I can feel that after the first time he snapped back at his mom, something has shifted in him. I think he realized the world didn't end and he seems to be a little more confident. I hope his journey continues. Some cages don't even have bars. You just carry them in your head. Words of wisdom for every young adult trying to make their way in the world. Yeah, this sounds like that sort of relationship where the parents were like really controlling and holding things over their kid's head when they were younger, and they never really managed to make a clean cut to the point that they are still living at home and their housing and stuff still depends on the parents. That's not a very nice situation because you never enter that state of life when you turn into like two independent adults who still decide to like be family with each other. They never quite get to leave that child state, which is really sad. I hope he manages to break free, especially with the new job. Maybe he can finally afford to. I wish him the best of luck.
Your son is staring at my daughters.
I'm at the beach with a friend, Cece and her son and his friends. The guys are all around 30 years old. My friend's son gets up and goes into the ocean, and that's when entitled woman, ew, ew, walks over to my friend. Ew.
Is that your son that just went in the water?
Yeah. Why?
Can you ask him and his friends to stop staring at my daughters? Your son is quite a bit older than my daughters and is making them uncomfortable.
Ew points to three girls in bikinis, aged 14 to 20-ish. Cece bursts out laughing. No, I'm not going to tell them to stop because I feel sure they're not staring at your daughter since my son and his friends are all gay. Ew blushes, stammers, and walks away. What was she expecting? Oh my god, she was just like trying to make up a story for her Facebook group or something.
I had these men at the beach and I confronted them because they were totally looking, even though they obviously weren't. But oh my god.
She was just trying to make a scene. What's that old saying? When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Or instead it's like, when you're a Karen, everything looks like a crime or a potential for argumentative engagement. There is some kind of new age saying nestled in there. I just haven't quite nailed it yet. Nailed it, speaking of being a hammer. Racist customer demanded we fire and replace our employees with white American employees, even though we are an immigrant-owned business. Even if it wasn't like specifically an immigrant-owned business, it would still be a pretty wild request. I am unsure if this is the right place to post this, but I need to post about it regardless. Also, I obviously won't be using real names. Okay, I, 28F, live here in Colorado, and my family and I immigrated to the States. My dad owns his own renovation business, which he was inspired to set up after watching the TV show Home Improvement. And even though I have my own full-time job, I do casual works for my dad's business, mainly during office admin and payroll work. My dad has 2 employees, both of whom are Filipino, and one day we had a customer who booked a job and my dad sent his 2 employees to go to the customer's house, only for the customer to turn them away,
telling them to leave. My dad's worker, who I will call Miguel, texted me to say that the client told them to leave, so I just assumed that they changed their mind and wanted to cancel the job. However, literally a few minutes after the text from Miguel, I received a call from the customer, who I will call Ken, who angrily complained about having to Chinese employees come over to his place, complained about them stealing jobs from white men, and actually demanded that we fire them, replace them with white employees, and send over an employee who is white and not an immigrant. I pretty much knew how this conversation was going to play out, but decided to just roll with it and tell him that those two Asian men were only employees, and that our business is an immigrant-owned business, as my dad and I are both immigrants. Ken then demanded that we at least send over an employee who is white, and I told him that it makes no difference if the employee is white or not, as the fact my family and I are European makes us not really any different to immigrants from the Philippines, China, Mexico, or whatever. He then accused us of stealing jobs, saying things along the lines of, "This is Trump's America now," and that we do not deserve the business. And after letting him rant, I just told him to find someone else to do the job and hung up. Ah, you see, the beautiful thing about being able to fire clients. Man, that is such a lovely feeling. Lady yells at me because my car is the same color as hers. You have to be a really boring fucking person if you base your entire personality and worth on the color of your damn car. This happened at a stoplight a couple of weeks ago, and it still makes me giggle. I drive a 2019 Ford Ranger in a color called Hot Chili Pepper Red. It's an orange-red color that turns out to be a candy coat of orange over red. It's one of their expensive upgrade colors that's pretty rare because nobody wants to pay an extra $750 for it. I didn't either, I just got a deal on the truck. I happened to pull up next to a new Bronco in the same color, and the lady driving was pretty excited. Turns out her excited was extremely pissed because my truck was the same color as hers. According to her, it was a limited edition color that was exclusive to a certain package in the Bronco that year, and I was copying her! Are you really so much of a main character that you think random people on the road have seen your specific car before and inspired their choices based on that? And even if they did, wouldn't that be like a compliment? You're like a trendsetter. You're like a real full-blown influencer or whatever. Whoopie-doo. A lot of people try to be that for real. My god, woman. She accused me of painting my truck to copy her car and demanded, and she really hit the high notes on the word demand, that I change it back. Change it back to what? But the car didn't have a color before, did it? All of this happened at a stoplight, and I just sat there watching this grown-ass adult lose her ever-loving shit at me over the color of our cars. Only later did it occur to me that I should have recorded it. Given that there is around 10 or 12 different factory colors in a maker's entire lineup, I'm not sure how she thought this was a color unique to her. I know the higher-end badges like Porsche will make a custom color for you, but this is Ford, the company that once offered cars in any color you like as long as it's black. I feel like she's gonna have a lot of problems in life, or maybe the opposite. You know, I usually say that if someone makes a problem out of something like this, they can't have any actual problems, right? Like there can't be anything else in their life that absorbs their energy, because otherwise no one in their right mind, I mean she obviously isn't in her right mind, but no one would spend energy on stuff like this if you had real problems to deal with, right? I always think that people like this just don't know what actual problems look like. They don't know how to pick their battles. And they make up battles as well, where there are none. So there's like a double doozy there. Lady demanded the job at my company after showing me her Cerebrum IQ score, which was actually super low. Oh wait, it's gonna be one of those like, oh my god, I got 80 IQ, that means I'm smarter than 80% of people. Is it gonna be one of those? Working at a small tech company, and this woman shows up like literally demanding a job. No resume, no nothing, just says, I took the IQ test and my score proves I'm qualified. She flashes her phone and shows me a score that was like barely above average, and starts going off about how IQ is everything and we would be dumb not to hire her. When I told her we have an actual hiring process, she screamed that her IQ alone should be enough. I'm still laughing about it, but also what the frick? And the beautiful part about it as well is that the score isn't even that impressive. Oh my god, man. I think like my summary about people that openly brag so much or demand things due to their IQ can be summed up very nicely in a person I encountered once. They claimed that they were immune to the Dunning-Kruger effect because they had an IQ of 130. They literally Dunning-Krugered the Dunning-Kruger effect. That was really funny to me, and I think that speaks volumes about people that actively brag about specifically their IQ score. It was a very funny experience. Well, laddies, lasses, and lassos, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed having you here, and have a wonderful rest of your day and time where you live, and I will see you again in the very near future. Take care.